I'm just going to tell you where there are some ways and times that it's reasonable to lump things together. A lot of the time, this idea of consolidation, which is my subject today on the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host. I'm Kurt, and today is Wednesday, the 6th of October of 2021. Welcome aboard for anyone who's here on Rumble, on the podcast, on YouTube, or for that matter, anywhere else. Remember, Rumble is my preferred platform. But again, we're going to talk on the subject of consolidation, and I'm just going to tell you that for the most part, you can count me against. I'm going to go through my notes real quick so that you have the opportunity to know sort of where I am on things. I've already given you some idea, but I want to do a little more of that. You can ask around. I came to the conclusion many years ago I didn't like multifunction devices. At the time, printer scanners were the thing. Everybody was selling them to you, and I decided that I did not care for them. Part of the reason being if the printer or the scanner broke, you had the other part, but you had to go buy another one anyway. And of course, then you were likely to get another printer scanner, which meant that you just basically tossed the old one out. That was about the only thing you could do with it. That's not something that got better for me over time, though I will admit that I've gone to laptops, notebooks, and the like over desktop-type computers, even though they're more configurable. I tend to shop at a larger chain store as a matter of convenience, and I could get into the detail on that, but just know that at this point it would be much harder for me to do otherwise. I'm not a fan of doing that either, and I'm always searching for viable alternatives. That one has been harder to fight, at least for me. It's probably not for you. You probably can get away with it better than I can. But when I watched as two companies who own the phone market, that's the physical phones and particularly the operating systems in the United States, and frankly most of the world, shut out competition to entities they support for what I consider basically no reason, I came to the conclusion it was time to move on from those platforms. That battle is still in progress, but you can rest assured I'm still working to rid myself of the technologies in question, operating systems particularly. Like I say, and I don't need to go into detail since I'm pretty sure you probably know who I'm talking about. More and more multifunction anything will leave my life. And again, there are some exceptions to that, but the point is mostly that's how that's going to work out. Does the local grocery store have a non-store brand? That's what I'm buying, more expensive or not. Does the search engine that I'm using track my searches and sell that information to others? Chances are good. If I haven't found a replacement for them, it's on the books. I'm on the search, the hunt. Consolidation and conglomeration are killing smaller entities. That much is clear. Worse yet, they're killing competition because even larger entities can't necessarily compete with mega entities of various kinds where that sort of thing is concerned. You can ignore this fact if you choose to. If you do so, though, count on various strangleholds coming into play in your life. Want to talk about unsanctioned things? Try to do that sort of thing on tech giant platforms. In the end, consolidation may seem like a good thing. Let me just tell you, mostly it's not. I've learned to not make statements that tend to be all-inclusive, comprehensive. There are times when it makes sense, as I say, to consolidate things. There are times when the convenience of having things all in one place is really good. But there's this problem, and the problem is that when you have an entity who sells something, or whether it's a product or a service or whatever, and they consolidate a whole bunch of things under their name, what happens is the smaller businesses that could be operating tend to be squeezed out. When I see my local grocery store marketing their own chips, corn chips, whatever, tortilla chips, whatever you want to call them. I hate to say this, but for the most part, I do my very best to not buy them. When I see them doing milk or cream or chocolate milk the same way, same thing applies. I understand their desire to quality control by having things under their name and making it so that when somebody doesn't meet their quality standards, they can move on to another vendor. That said, I want to continue to use local vendors until I decide they're not the ones to use anymore. I don't want the grocery store deciding for me whether or not somebody is something to use. Some organization is what I ought to be using. I used to buy a certain sort of licorice. I'll go as far as to name the sort of candy. I know a lot of you probably don't like licorice. That's fine. You don't have to. There's an expression in Spanish, menos burros, más jalotes. It means fewer burros, more ears of corn, basically, right? More food. And I'm with that. I'm totally with that. You don't like, licorice? That's fine by me. You don't have to. I'm not really looking for you to like it. But the point is, I used to buy a particular brand of licorice at one of the stores that I went to. And I liked it quite well. And I'm not going to get into detail. I will say that this one was Australian, but there are any number of makers of that sort of thing. Well, that company decided for whatever reason that they were going to replace their vendor, who they bought. And I don't know if it was because their vendor replaced who they bought or what happened. All I know is this. I tried the new stuff. I was willing to give it the benefit of the doubt. As soon as I tried it, within a very short time, I decided, nope, not interested, and I just stopped buying licorice. This is part of the point of having smaller, less consolidated entities is if I really wanted to, I could find the licorice that I used to buy and buy it again. Right now I'm not excited by anything, but I'm certainly not excited by the replacement that the local chain store decided that it was going to sell at its locations. My point though is this. The more things are consolidated, the less you will have say. The company that I buy from decided that they weren't selling a certain kind of coffee anymore, or at least not in the packaging that I wanted. They do sell it in another larger package, and that's what I ended up buying in that particular instance. But the point is, I don't know who decided in the long run, but either that company didn't have enough pull, didn't utilize their pull, or they decided that they just weren't going to carry that because it was taking up too much space on the shelves or whatever, even though I was buying it on a regular and ongoing basis. The fact of the matter is, though, because they have so much say and sway in your lives, various places, whether it's the operating system for your phone or the grocery store in which you shop, you have less and less power with your dollar. You become less and less able to say, no, I'm not buying that if you're not going to sell what I want. And I still do things like one of those chain stores decided to treat me badly, and I said, well, okay, then I don't need to be here. In fact, they treated my son badly, which is a far worse thing in my mind. So I basically said, no, I'm not going to continue to come to you. And I don't know if they thought I wasn't serious or thought that it wasn't important enough to keep me around or what it was, but that company, that branch, that location lost my business. They lost my business, and I won't be coming back to them. And I'm not going to go into detail. That's not something that I'm going to try and do. Among other things, there's certainly legal liabilities, and they could certainly take me to court or whatever if they chose to do so. All you need to know is when I decide that I'm not going to take something anymore, I move on. And like I say, for me, the whole consolidation thing, if I can do away with it most of the time, I will do just that. I'm not a fan. I don't like it, and I don't agree with it, and I hope that you see why that's true. I hope you realize that what's going on here is there are a bunch of people who more and more are trying to grab more and more control from you and from me and from everyone around so that they can do what they want with relative impunity, and I'm just not interested. I'm just not interested. If somebody's going to treat me badly or not carry what I want or try and take over the market in their own little way, they don't have my support when they do that. They just don't. So if you ask me, is consolidation a good idea? I'm never going to say that that's never a good idea. I'm never going to say that. But I will say that largely I do not believe it is. So as far as it goes, if you're asking me, you've got the answer. That's where I am. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. This is the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host. I'm Kurt, and today is Wednesday, the 6th of October of 2021. That means tomorrow will be Thursday, getting on for the weekend, the 7th of October of 2021. Remember that you have been watching me, and thank you for doing so on Rumble, the podcast, or YouTube. And thank you for doing so, as I say. My preferred platform is Rumble. You can give me a boxing glove or a plus on Rumble if you want to give me a positive feedback. You can also give me a minus, which is a negative feedback. You can give me a like or a thumbs up on YouTube. You can give me a thumbs down or a dislike if you want to do so there as well. So that's a positive in the like and a negative in the dislike if you want to do so. Remember, if there's a place to comment on a given platform, I will do everything that I can to pay attention to the comments because I'm really interested in what you guys say about what it is that I'm saying. Subject for today has been consolidation, and tomorrow we're going to talk on the subject of not what they intended, and this is where people try to support a given perspective, and maybe it goes a little bit awry now and then. I've got a couple of choice examples I think that I probably will bring up in the video. If I don't, I don't, but I think that'll happen. Hope that you're having a good day today. Hope that everything is going well for you on this middle day of the week. And hopefully we will see you again on Thursday's edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. The speaker on this edition of the Daily Summation is Kurt Schubert. This video was recorded on Wednesday, the 6th of October of 2021. The Daily Summation is created for Kurt's Religion and Politics. Thanks for watching this edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I hope you found it entertaining or instructional, or maybe both. If you want to see more from me, you can go to blogs.kpschubert.com. That's blogs.kpschubert.com. I am on Twitter, Parler, and Minds.com. My handle on each of those is @kpschubert. That's @kpschubert. I have a Rumble and a YouTube channel. They are the Kurt's Religion and Politics channels on Rumble and YouTube. I have a Facebook page. The Facebook page is Kurt's Religion and Politics as well. I am on Patreon. If you want to support me, that's one of the better places you can do that. And you will find me at Kurt's Religion and Politics on Patreon. I have a podcast. The podcast is podcasts with an S, .kpschubert.com. That's podcasts.kpschubert.com. I think you should be able to find me with relative ease on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify as well. The best way I find to do that is to look for Kurt's Religion and Politics. You can try to use the Daily Summation. I find that it doesn't work as well as a general rule, but you can always try that. I'm glad to have you aboard today, and hopefully we will see you again tomorrow.